Just a few years ago, I literally couldn't walk. I was bedridden and so weak that I could barely sit up on my own in the hospital, while a team of doctors suggested that my debilitating fatigue was mostly in my head. And I went from running marathons to barely walking to the bathroom. So this is my story of how I found a way forward and, just started to piece my life back together and what one doctor taught me about the brain that made it all possible. So, yeah, before everything crashed, my life was all about drive. And I ran this demanding business where my entire world was built on mental stamina and relentless performance. And my days would start before the sun was up, and I would have a constant whirlwind of calls, client meetings, and managing my team. And the pressure was intense, but really, I thrived in it. I lived for the thrill and the challenge of seeing my team hit these ambitious goals. And on the weekends, to blow off steam, I would always trade the boardroom for the mountains. I ran half marathons for fun and spent my free time hiking. So, yeah, I didn't just feel mentally sharp. I thought that I was invincible. I truly believed that any obstacle could be smashed with enough discipline and willpower, and I saw success as a formula. Just work harder, sleep less, and just push through. And my entire identity was tied up in being a high performer, a source of strength for my team and my family. And I felt unbreakable. I had, no idea that the foundation of my entire life was about to turn to dust. And it didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, creeping drain of power. And at first, I remember blaming it on overtraining. My recovery after workouts stretched longer and longer, and the normal post-gym soreness started to feel less like progress and more like this, deep, heavy ache that I just couldn't shake. And then the kind of fatigue that, it didn't feel I didn't feel tired, but this bone-deep cellular exhaustion. And I would try to push more and be tougher, more disciplined, but that only made it worse. And soon, walking to the grocery store felt like, I'd ran a marathon. And then, walking to the mailbox was the marathon. And soon after, I just started canceling clients, and my health just started spiraling more. And the symptoms kept piling on. Fatigue would barely lift. The brain fog that made concentrating nearly impossible. Ear ringing, tremors, source of anxiety, and I had the skin burning. I felt like I was disappearing inside a body I couldn't trust. Then the final collapse was fast and terrifying. One morning I just couldn't get out of bed. I remember exactly. And my head had a swirl of fog and pain. And within days I was in the hospital. And now this energetic, powerful leader was replaced by a girl who could barely sit up. And it was absolutely devastating. And you'd think that the hospital would be the place where you'd get answers. But for me, it became a place where I felt completely invalidated. And I went through all the tests and scans, the MRIs, the blood work, and the neurological exams, and every single one of them came back normal. Doctors looked at my charts and then at me with, pity and skepticism. And I tried to describe the crushing fatigue and the brain fog that made, concentrating nearly impossible, the post-exertional malaise, and, how sitting up for even 10 minutes could trigger a crash that left me incapacitated for days. I had a lot of pot symptoms, but their conclusion was that, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Your labs look great, and it's probably stress. So I'm just wondering if you've ever been told something similar. And if so, please share it in the comments, because being dismissed is a wound that, so many of us carry. So let me tell you, those words hurt more than any of the physical symptoms. So I felt like, a ghost trapped in my own body. And it's an experience that many with ME/CFS have had. And, there's a lot of evidence now saying how ME/CFS is actually a biological illness and not just a psychological disorder. But at that moment, I felt like a shell of my former self. And the people who were supposed to help me were dismissing my reality. So despair doesn't even begin to cover it. I was suffocating hopelessness and a genuine belief that my life was over. So, getting out of the hospital was, terrifying because I had no answers. But I had to make a choice, just accept their verdict or just, and fade away or become my own advocate. So I chose to fight. And that decision kicked off a desperate, frustrating search for anyone who could help me. I started, researching. I learned about how functional doctors or naturopaths and mold toxicity, all those doctors, could help. And I tried all the protocols, but nothing really touched the bone deep exhaustion. Now I was starting to lose hope. And then I found a doctor who finally listened, and he actually got it. He looked at me and he told me I had something called limbic system impairment, and that in order to heal, I needed to retrain my brain. And he explained that what happens is, after a trigger, like a heavy emotional experience, or maybe, like a virus, or, just prolonged stress, the brain's alarm system, the limbic system, can get stuck in a permanent state of emergency, and it starts sending out these false danger signals 24/7, creating these real physical symptoms like fatigue and pain. And, it's just a misguided way to protect you and the body. But he told me that in order to heal, I would need to rewire my brain. And you know what? This was the turning point. It wasn't my fault, and it wasn't just all in my head, Found out that it was actually in my brain. And if the brain could learn this faulty pattern, maybe it could unlearn it, and, maybe healing could be possible. So my journey was long and incredibly lonely, but what happened was I created the recovery program after learning all these tools in recovering to help people overcome CFS, long COVID, anxiety, POTS, mast cell activation syndrome, and a whole lot more. And I'm really sharing this because I know exactly how isolating this journey can be. So if any of you guys resonate, please, share in the comments. So I think it's important that we build a community of support and validation right here for everyone who feels, lost. So yeah, if this message speaks to you and you're looking for extra support, I'd love to invite you to check out our Recovery System program. It's a clear step-by-step system that walks you through exactly what to focus on each and every single day so that you can confidently and intentionally take steps towards breaking free from chronic symptoms and sensitivities. And, in our program, we help you step by step to overcome those old negative thought patterns and also the core beliefs that might be keeping you stuck. And if you're like me and you place a high value on your time and you want a healing path that's strategic and effective, then this program is definitely for you. So if you're ready to calm down that chronic stress response and, lower your symptoms and maybe bring things back into your life that maybe you've been forced to avoid, things like, eating at your favorite restaurants, or exercising without a crash, or driving again, traveling, or even going back to work full time, then this program is definitely for you. And when you join, you're going to get 6 months of personal support inside a private Facebook group where you can ask as many questions as you want. So if you have 1 or 70, it doesn't matter. Those questions are going to get answered. And it'll be me and my team. You'll get customized coaching. You'll get daily rewiring tools and all the guidance you need to finally break free from those chronic symptoms and sensitivities. So yeah, if you're tired of doing this alone and you're ready for real lasting change, then go ahead and book your free discovery call. I'll put the link in the description below so that you can check that out. And really on that call, we're just going to create a personalized plan specific to your goals and to see if the program is a right fit, because right now the spots are limited and we keep the group kind of small so that we can give you personalized support and attention. And whether you join or not, or, we just want to let you know that we're going to give you the exact framework that can help you to start to turn the situation around. So either way, there's no risk in making the call. So yeah, brain retraining, this really became my new focus, and based on the doctor's guidance. And the recovery framework he laid out for me was really built on 3 core principles. First, I had to stop the cycle of crashing and panicking. And he explained that my nervous system was on a hair trigger, that the smallest stressor, like loud noises or even trying to, walk a few extra steps, really, it was it would just trigger this system-wide crash. And my brain was treating normal life as if everything was a mortal threat. So I had to start calming down my system with these simple brain retraining tools. And it was actually kind of fun. So second, I had to change how I reacted to my symptoms. So, really my fear, it was like a magnifying glass. It just made everything worse. So when a wave of fatigue would hit, my panic would amplify it, which then it sent back a signal to my brain that everything was dangerous. And I had to really break free from that feedback loop. So when a symptom showed up, I would just allow it to be there and I would notice it, but then I would engage and just get on with my day anyway. And I wasn't ignoring my symptoms, but I was responding with a message of safety instead of fear. And this slowly started to weaken that faulty neural pathway. So yeah, and third, really this one's huge. I had to slowly and patiently rebuild my brain's tolerance to stress. So this is where I want to be really clear. I learned that the goal wasn't just to push through. It was actually the opposite. It's actually about pacing, always doing, a little bit less than I thought I could. So if I thought that I could walk 10 minutes, then I probably, should aim for 7 or 8. And then, I gently reintroduce things back into my life. Like, I started exercising more slowly and just calming down the inflammation. I ate a healthy diet. And, really over time, the good days outnumbered the bad. And, I'd love to know if any of these 3 principles resonate with you. And if so, please drop a comment below and tell me. So I love reading the comments. So today my life is completely different. I can run again. I can lift weights in the gym. And I'm not that same sick person I was before. But you know what? I'm incredibly grateful because my strength isn't just measured by how much I can do or how much I can lift in the gym or all about performance. It's about a deep understanding of the connection between, my brain and my body. So I just want to give you guys hope because this illness, as awful as it was, it did give me that strange gift of understanding that instead of pushing through that, I needed to rebuild, my entire body, mind, and spirit and on the foundation of safety. And it taught me what real health feels like, not just physical performance, but really total well-being. So yeah, I want to let you guys know that healing is possible. And I want to let you know that my path isn't everybody's path, but it is an approach that works. And I do love to help people overcome this because your mind is so powerful. And I would love to know in the comments if you've done any of these approaches. And I would love to know. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to let you know that healing is possible, and you guys have a blessed day.